Welcome to the SuperFast Podcast, the place for information on healthy living, fasting, superfasting, diet and nutrition, and exercise. I'm your host, M. David Peterson, the author of the ebook, SuperFast, Fasting for Super Health, and founder of SuperFast Superfit. Also joining us as co-host is Jacie Peterson. She's been following the SuperFast program for over 8 years. We both bring experience and science together for a comprehensive conversation on all things fasting, diet, and exercise. Please note that nothing on this podcast is meant as medical advice. We present our opinions based on experience and science for educational and entertainment purposes only. For any lifestyle change, consult your healthcare professional and never stop taking your medication without a doctor's approval. Now, let's get on with the SuperFast Podcast. Welcome to the part 2 of the SuperFast Podcast, a video on hiking and benefits of hiking and how wonderful it is to commune with nature. And this episode, we're going to talk to you about
exercise.
The health benefits of exercise, which hiking is definitely exercise. Mm-hmm. I'm M. David Peterson, your host.
And I'm Jacie Peterson, your co-host for today.
Okay. And so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start right in with an infographic. So the infographic that you're looking at right now is regular physical activity helps lower your cancer risk. Okay, so this is not just communing with nature. It's not just having a good time out in the wilderness.
That's about your life.
It's about health and life. And I mean, cancer is really one of the number one chronic diseases that people get. And so there's a lot of evidence out there that exercise will prevent the chronic diseases, and cancer is one of them. And so why wouldn't you want to reduce your risk of cancer unless you can't exercise? And there are people out there who can't exercise, but you can always exercise in the capacity that you can. You know, we can help you. You can find people who can help you. And so it's very important to exercise. And so let's look at this as the CDC infographic. What cancers does exercise reduce? Well, it reduces breast cancer. We know 2 women with breast cancers. Men can get breast cancer also. We don't know any men with breast cancer, but it is a possibility. So everyone wants to avoid cancer, especially breast cancer, but it also prevents esophagus cancer, lung cancer, which is a big one. If you smoke or don't smoke, if you live in polluted areas.
I was about to say, yeah.
Go ahead. Well, you're
the polluted one,
the expert on pollution, because the pollution's pretty bad in China. So you need to exercise to help you prevent lung cancer. Kidney cancer, which you don't want to lose your kidneys, because you can't live without your kidneys. Stomach cancer. I knew a woman who had stomach cancer. She went through chemotherapy and radiation, and that's what you're trying to avoid. Is the treatments for cancer are sometimes worse than the cancer, sometimes more deadly than the cancer.
Right.
And we're not really going to go into it much here. We probably will go into it much more than the pharmaceutical companies want us to, but. So you want to avoid that, and then I think she did not make it. I lost track of her, but I don't think she made it. Anyway, colon cancer and bladder cancer. So, and I'm pretty sure we're going to find out that prostate cancer also, which we know some people who have suffered from prostate cancer. It's not something you want to do. And again, the treatment it's more harmful. Chemotherapy is going to give you cancer later on down the road, so this is why you want to avoid that. Anyway, CDC. So the CDC is an extension of the pharmaceutical companies. I don't really like the CDC that much, but you can still get valuable information, even though they might be pushing chemotherapy drugs in a study or something like that, like the study we're going to look at. You can still find gems in there.
Right.
Because there are good scientists who are doing these experiments and studies. So there you go. Hiking lowers your risk of cancer. So we also have a study that they did, which there are many studies out there. All you got to do is look for them, but I like this study. And the name of this study is Exercise as a Promising Agent Against Cancer, Evaluating its Anti-Cancer Molecular Mechanisms. So even though they do talk about using exercise as a treatment during cancer. So if you're going through treatment, it can help you with treatment and that kind of stuff. They are also talking about anti-cancer, so preventing cancer. And this is really what you don't want to deal with cancer, so it's better to prevent it. So our SuperFast, SuperFit program with the fasting, diet and exercise and other healthy things that you can do to be healthy is really to prevent the cancer. We are lucky, and I feel lucky with the prevalence of cancer as it is now. I feel lucky that we don't have that. We didn't do this because we have that. But all of these things can help. If you do have the cancer, it can help you. So let's look at why this does help with cancer. We have the simple summary here, and the first line is, cancer is the main cause of mortality and morbidity worldwide.
Okay, so there are two words starting with M, right? So one is mortality, and one is morbidity, right?
So let's look at what these two words mean.
Okay.
Mortality is the quality or condition of being mortal. So the fact that we can die when we get a disease that will eventually kill us, that's the mortality. And the morbidity is the attitude, quality, or state of mind marked by excessive gloom. So a disease or state some ill health is what it is.
Okay.
So mortality is death, right? And morbidity is about ill health.
Okay.
So let's go back to this study. The incidence of physical inactivity is gradually increasing, reaching alarmingly high levels. Okay, so the fact that people don't move around, don't hike, is really alarming.
It's like a increase the risk.
Oh, it's this is, cancer is the first sentence, and physical inactivity is the second one. People don't move enough. The human body was not designed to get cancer, but it was designed to move around. So if you eat certain foods and you do certain activities like breathe in a lot of pollution, if you don't move around, you are more at risk of this. We were designed to walk 12 kilometers per day at a pretty good pace. So when we're sitting around watching TV or on the computer all the time, which is ironic because you're on the computer right now, which I don't want you to stop watching this and go out and hike, but after you're done watching this, go out and hike. It causes a lot of problems. So that's what this study is looking at. So several review articles have summarized the potential beneficial effects of exercise in several aspects of the lifestyles of patients with cancer, and of course without to prevent cancer. In view of the above considerations, the aim of this review study is to highlight the interrelationship between cancer and exercise on a molecular basis. Molecular basis. So all the way down, not only to the cells, but all the way down to the molecules that make up our body. I mean, this very smallest atoms and molecules of oxygen and hydrogen, that kind of stuff. And so how does this affect us? And basically exercise does help us at a molecular level to reduce our cancer risk and to help us when we do have cancer. It doesn't hurt to start an exercise routine.
So does it mean it has something to do with the cells? Because cancer cells, they're bad, then this one will help those cells to either get rid of the bad cells, cancer cells, or get good cells to replace.
Healthier and to replace them. Stem cells to replace them. The exercise helps build stem cells, which then can turn into any cell. And reduce the cancer stem cells, because cancer cells have stem cells. You can't just bop the cancer cell on the head with
Right.
a club. It'd be nice if you could.
Right.
But you have to get something inside that cell that changes the molecular structure of the cancer cell to then make it die, because the cancer cells don't die.
So speaking of which, actually, my dad passed away from cancer, and for the last few weeks, I think he really wanted to eat something that actually feed the cancer cell, but we didn't know, and he didn't know. So he liked to eat something sweet. He liked
Cancer cells love sugar.
meat and the bone soup, oil stuff,
Oil.
all of these things actually. Lack of
Fat.
knowledge, we didn't know. So actually, that's what he wants. That's what the cancer cells want, because they want to survive in your body,
Yeah, it is very sad, and I'm very sorry that your father passed away, and I'm very sorry that I didn't know what I know now, because we were not able to help him.
Right.
But he did not exercise. He did not eat a healthy diet. And unfortunately, I mean, I hate to say this about your mom, but many people eat this way without really even realizing that they're feeding cancer, that they're causing cancer, and then they're accelerating cancer with their diet, which we would have known how to help him and your mother make sure that he changed his diet, and then he could have fasted, because he was at the age at that point. He chose not to go through the chemotherapy and radiation and surgery.
He didn't do that one. That's good. But the diet, he didn't change.
Yeah.
He did worse.
And then he looked for alternative methods.
Right.
He looked at colloidal silver. I remember he looked into, and he really fell prey to the scam artists that sell this stuff. And this is one of the reasons we're lucky that we didn't get cancer before we started all this stuff. Because once you're diagnosed with cancer, if you have not thought about what you're going to do to treat the cancer, and it's not a pleasant thing to think about, but every time we fast, every time we exercise, every time we eat right, we're thinking, we're maybe consciously or subconsciously, we're helping ourselves. We're reducing our cancer risk.
Because at that time you'll be desperate.
And so
you just try to grab everything you can.
So he fell prey to these hoaxsters who, shucksters.
Supplements.
Yeah,
spent a lot of money on those.
He spent a lot of money on supplements, and so he didn't have a lot of time to really do the research. So people would call him and say, "Hey, this will help with your cancer," because he was kind of old. So they start talking to people, find out what's wrong with them, and then that our product will help you with.
They say
your
whatever
cancer.
they want to sell their products.
Yeah. So he fell prey to that, and it was very unfortunate. And then he kind of inspired me to do more research on cancer, alternative cancer treatments, and there are many out there. That might get us banned from YouTube, actually, but because they don't want you to know that there are alternatives to their chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery.
Right.
But there are, and if you do the research before you have cancer, or you take steps to prevent cancer, then you'll know what you're going to do. And we're not going to take, if we fall prey, because I didn't do this healthy stuff for till I was 50. So I did 5 decades of damage to my body. I might still fall I might have cancer, but let's knock on wood. Knock on wood.
That's what
wood. We hopefully, actually that's plastic, but we'll knock on wood later. Okay. So hopefully we won't have. We are a little bit superstitious.
Yeah.
Hopefully we won't have cancer and worry about that stuff, but I already know what I'm going to do if I have it, and then I'll try several. I'm not going to go. This is alternative cancer treatment a podcast, but if you do decide to go with chemotherapy, then actually exercise and fasting and eating a healthy diet, they all help when you have the cancer, to get you through the cancer, to help you when you're having chemotherapy. There's a famous study done that showed that fasting helped you survive the chemotherapy better, and your normal cells survived better than if you didn't fast. So these are all things you can do before you have cancer or after
when you have the treatment.
When you have the treatment, if you choose to do the conventional treatment. So And that's what this says. So moving on to the abstract of this study, the very first important one, we've already read the first two sentences basically in the simple abstract, but this is a very important sentence. Physical inactivity is a causative factor in non-communicable diseases, including cancer.
Now, why they call it non-communicable disease?
Well, an infection like let's say COVID is communicable, because if you get too close to somebody, they will catch your virus. A non-communicable means that if I have a non-communicable disease,
it will not pass on.
then I can't give it to you. So that's what non-communicable disease, and that's cancer. Like if I if I touch you, you're not in danger. So, however, the potential beneficial effects of exercise on cancer treatment and prevention have not received much attention so far. So that's what this study is going to look at, the studies and the experiments that they've done on exercise and cancer. And so here we go. So results of this study. The mechanisms by which exercise may reduce cancer risks, so that's before cancer, and or progression may include the metabolic profile of hormones, systemic inflammation reduction, insulin sensitivity increase, antioxidant capacity augmentation, the boost to the immune system, and the direct effect on the tumor. So these are all just fancy words, hormones, which are like testosterone and estrogen, but there are many other hormones, and inflammation.
And insulin, it has something to do with diabetes stuff, right?
Yes, blood sugar control, regulation. So if you are diabetic, then this makes you more at risk for cancer. And so exercise, fasting, and eating a healthy diet help with regulating your blood sugar level, which is insulin sensitivity, and it increases insulin sensitivity. Antioxidants, of course, get rid of the free radicals, which damage your DNA and help to cause cancer. Immune system. Our immune system.
We say immune system.
Yeah, and it's just so important, and it's something that, until the COVID pandemic, many people didn't worry about their immune system, but they are now.
Now it's everywhere.
Exercise, fasting, and a healthy diet help to increase your immune system, and the immune system is what kills the cancer cells to help prevent cancer. So you really need a good immune system. This is very, very important. And then the direct effect on the tumor. One interesting thing about cancer is that we all have cancerous cells in us. We may not have been diagnosed with cancer, but we have cancerous cells. So our immune system is constantly getting rid of those, so the tumors don't grow. And this is the importance of exercise in this study, but the other two, as I said, ad nauseum, to help you with cancer.
Right.
Anything?
Good.
Okay. So we have a nice little graphic here in the study.
Make it very clear.
It shows that exercise helps with the immune system, function simulation at the top, and on the other side, promotion of apoptosis, tumor suppression. Apoptosis is a programmed controlled cell death. If your cells just pop open, the mitochondria, which is not really a part of our body, it's something that we're born with, but evolutionarily it came from the outside to help us maintain health and get energy and all that other stuff. So apoptosis is programmed cell death. We need this. Apoptosis is something that we absolutely need. If you don't have good apoptosis, you're going to be ill. So cell apoptosis actually envelops the mitochondria, and then gets rid of it so that it doesn't harm our body, which it could. So anyway, that's what apoptosis is. Hormonal regulation and insulin resistance reduction. So that is something that we already talked about, and inflammation we've already talked about.
Obesity.
But obesity is something we haven't talked about, and the study does talk about. Obesity, which is caused by inflammation, and of course, not exercising, not eating healthy, and not fasting. It leads to many chronic diseases, but cancer is one of them. So exercise helps you with the obesity. And the reason why I keep on mentioning fasting and diet is because actually exercise alone has a benefit, but it just doesn't have the full benefit, the 100% benefit. It's like 30% benefit, whereas diet is 30%. And
because we were exercising. Before we met, we exercised by ourselves.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot, our own way. Then after we met, we exercised together. But before we started to fast and change our diet, we noticed it just is not good enough,
It's not good enough, and then you get injured, and then you stop and you yo-yo diets, and it's an unhealthy roller coaster. Whereas fasting has helped us keep with the exercise, and the healthy diet certainly didn't hurt either. But that's just kind of a graphic of what this is. There's one more graphic that I want to look at here, and that is table 1, and it goes through all of the types of cancers, the exercises, anti-cancer molecular mechanisms, which we won't go through all, but you can kind of read it or go to this study. And then the references, which is very interesting because, look at this first one, breast cancer, which unfortunately I have tried to talk to the 2 women that we know that have breast cancer, and they chose to believe their doctors. And so they've gone through chemotherapy. It actually injured one of them. She tried fasting, but her cancer medications injured her. But the doctors had her on fasting because her bowel actually just kind of burst. So she actually had to fast. And she fasted for a long time. And you know what? She looked great. She looked fantastic. She had lost weight. Her skin looks better. This is a woman who has breast cancer. She's going through chemotherapy, and she looked fantastic. And it's because of the fact that her doctors had to make her fast.
And she stopped the treatment also.
She did. She did stop the treatment. She got a second opinion, which is also very important. Please don't believe your first doctor if they diagnose you with cancer. I've seen my friends with prostate cancer who, there are so many false positives. You need a second. And quite frankly, I'd get a third, maybe even a fourth. If all 4 said, yes, you have cancer, knock on wood, I would definitely then start the alternative treatments. But that would explain why I don't feel good. But anyway. So, look at this. Breast cancer helps with all these things that most people don't know about, but also inflammation. That's the only one I'm going to cover. So then, it shows ovarian cancer here, and endometrial cancer, which has to do with the endometrial lining of the uterus. And then prostate cancer, which we've talked about. And, I've had 2 PSA tests in the last 5 years, and both of them were at 0.4, which above 4 is too high. You're starting to look at possibility of getting cancer. And at one point, one of my friends who had prostate cancer, and he got the chemotherapy, and who knows if it was the chemotherapy and radiation that caused it to get worse, or if it helped it. But his PSA was at 4,000.
Yes, how many times
4,000.
over?
And he was very ill at that point. And so, he unfortunately passed away because of the prostate cancer and or the treatment. And so it's just a very sad thing. But here's some hormones. Testosterone building by the musculoskeletal system, that's the bones and the muscles. bones and the muscles as a result of chronic and high intensity exercise. So, my one friend, who I know is still alive, I have him on Facebook and that kind of stuff. We were, we were on the wrestling team together. So he's very, very active, and he cycles. And so now I know that his cycling is going to help him, even though maybe he might still eat a standard American diet. Maybe he still might not fast, but he exercises quite a bit. And so he's thin, fit, and we're gonna hope that he stays healthy. But that helps. And then a resistance exercise. Look at this. That's the first one that we saw in here. Increases testosterone, which it does for men and women, but it does not, contrary to popular belief, cause women to become Arnold Schwarzenegger. As you can see with my wife, and we talked about in another podcast. Is offset by an increase in androgen receptors in exercising muscles.
So it's like those are strength workouts.
So this is lifting weights and strength workout, or calisthenics, or isometric exercise. I mean, if you just push your hands together like this, that helps with your chest muscles and your arm muscles. And so you want resistance exercise also. And that's what most people don't know. I mean, like my friend who cycles, I know they do some weight resistance training because he was a wrestler, so I know he does it. But that's very important also. Most people don't realize that resistance training helps with health, longevity, strength as you are aging, so you're not going to fall and break your hip. Density of the bone, so you won't fall and break your hip.
Yeah, that's very important for elderly people also.
So here you go. This is telling us that this is important, and even though drug companies may not like this, it is true. So lung cancer. And so I'm not really going to go much into that, but if you think you're at risk for that, definitely exercising helps. Gastric cancer, which has to do with the, all the way from your esophagus all the way through to your rectum, and then of course then the next one is colorectal cancer, which if you eat a lot of meat, your colon is the large intestine, and then it empties everything into your the rectum, which then it exits your back door, if you want to call it that. And so that's colorectal cancer. You can get cancer in all of those that area. Not a fun cancer, but you definitely, eating meat, it's important to eat a lot of vegetables if you eat meat to help push that meat through, because the meat, having no fiber, it stays in you for like 3 days. And that's why you have such a problem. So if you can't give up meat totally, as far as I'm concerned, do extreme moderation with maybe once or twice a week eating meat. And when you eat meat, eat vegetables all the way around it, before and after, so it just kind of pushes everything through, and you don't have to worry about the cancer risk that much.
So it all comes down to the clean body. The blood is clean, your colon is clean, so you push everything out. So you try to keep your colon clean.
Yes.
So it will be healthy. So everything's about how the cleanliness of your body.
Yes, and fruits and vegetables tend to be clean because they don't stick to your, whereas ultra-processed food and meat tends to stick to your colon as it's going through. And then that's why you need to detox, that's why you need colon cleanses, that's why you need all that stuff. If you're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts, beans and legumes, it just goes right through you, and you don't, nothing's left behind. It's and carrots, I used to love to read when I read about carrots, and they just kind of sweep you out. They take everything with it. If you're eating a lot of meat and ultra-processed foods, you eat a carrot and it's going to take a lot of stuff with it. So to let you know how much exercise helps every body system, you don't exercise your skin, you're not doing lifting weights with your jowls, so how can it help with skin cancer? Well, it's systemic, it helps your whole body. And so skin cancer, and there, if you understand what ceramides are, then you know what that means. I don't know what ceramides are, but I know that exercise helps with skin cancer, and I'm particularly interested in that because skin cancer runs in my family.
You know why? Because according to Chinese traditional medicine, everything in your appearance actually comes in. And your organs, So let's say liver has something to do with your skin. So if you have a healthy liver, then you have good eyesight, the skin, everything, So it's still from inside out. That's why I don't think skin is outside thing. It's your skin is the appearance, but it's all from inside. Yeah.
And that's why, and I'm not saying I'm a young bathing beauty, but I think I look a little bit better than most men my age, and it's because of the fasting, eating healthy, and exercise. It's from the inside out. Of course, I did 50 years of damage to my body, so the gray hair ain't going away, but it's reducing. I'm getting more dark hairs because of the SuperFast, SuperFit. But anyway, let's go back to the cancer, and the last one that they're looking at here, not that it doesn't help with other types of rarer cancers, but liver cancer. The thing I like about the liver is it has live in it. Without the liver, you can't live. So you don't want to hurt your liver. Yeah. And that's with my medical checkups for the last 2 times. I'm waiting like with bated breath. How's my liver? How are my kidneys? Tell me quick. And when they say your liver function and kidney functions are perfect, I know I'm healthy, along with all the other indicators. Then the study talks about all of those cancers and how exercise helps. In detail. So we're going to talk about the discussion, which every study has discussions and conclusions, which if you're not a scientist, is a good place to go. Read the abstract, maybe read the introduction. If you're interested in the methods and you know how to interpret the methods, you can read those, then skip down to the discussion. Unless something particularly catches your attention. So here's the discussion. Undoubtedly, exercise can exert a protective effect against cancer. There you go. Prevention again. This is what we want. It could be mentioned that it may act as a preventative medication, in quotes, that should be applied throughout the lifetime. So this is, it's never too late.
You're right.
So if you
can start anytime,
if you find yourself with cancer, go ahead and get started, because it's never too late. But if you're lucky enough to not have cancer or not have chronic illness and diseases, start now. Or maybe you already are. Fantastic, because we already are, and it is a preventative medication. You are taking a medicine by fasting, by putting food into your mouth. And it's true, so you should be doing these things right now. The great benefits of exercise for the general population are pointing at the implementation of similar physical activity practices in the field of cancer education and prevention. So this is part of the cancer education and prevention. Hopefully we can help save a life. The American Cancer Society, in cooperation with the American Heart Association and the World Health Organization, 3 very good, well-meaning, well-intentioned groups, not always having the best of intentions for the interests of your health in mind, but still you can get those gems from them every once in a while, has effectively promoted recommendations for adopting a more active lifestyle by recommending for adults 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity exercise, or 70 minutes.
75.
Sorry, thank you for correcting me. 75 minutes per week of high-intensity exercise, or a combination of these. And this podcast is getting a little bit long, so we might not get into the high intensity. We've talked about it before. HIIT. We'll talk about it again, but if you don't really know what that is, work for the 150 minutes per week. Divide that by 7, and you know how many minutes per week, per day you have to exercise. This is fantastic. A little bit more won't hurt. A little bit less won't really hurt. So try and get exercise. And then you can combine these, as it says, while limiting sedentary behavior. So
to sit on the couch, watch TV.
Dr. Michael Greger, which he's a very famous doctor and nutritionist, and he's a nutritional advocate. He reads all kinds of his nutritionfacts.org. I can't talk enough. I have his books. He's a great guy. Well, he has a desk. It's a treadmill desk.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, and when he does his videos, he'll be walking on his treadmill desk to get in the video. So maybe you don't have that. Maybe you can stand while you're watching our video, do some calisthenics. The thing is move, and we're not as much of a radical as Dr. Greger, but we're also not as great as he is. So.
But there's a very good way to motivate you to do exercise every minute you can, physically, right? Because most of the time, even now, if we are doing this podcast or we're working, we are sitting.
Yes.
Right, we are not doing exercise. Maybe we should do some exercise now.
Okay, let's take a curl break. We're going to do some curl. Let's do some...
Next time we should have some weights and do some,
well,
exercise.
Yeah, and that's where I think Dr. Greger, now, I don't know, I'm sure he advocates for resistance training, but it doesn't look like he really does a lot of resistance training.
Okay.
But he definitely gets enough endurance training. And we'll talk about why resistance training is so important, but it really is. All right. So the study goes on to say, however, these levels of physical activity appeared to be associated with a reduction in the incidence of cancer morbidity and mortality. Now you know what those mean. The optimal frequency, intensity, duration, and type of exercise required to reduce cancer risk remain unclear. Well,
they have to see this, huh?
I'm sorry. I think that's a bunch of we do know, and whether you do 150 of moderate intensity, 75 of high intensity, combination or more or less, no exercise is going to hurt you really, except for maybe fasting will help your muscles and your cells to be stronger, so you won't get hurt that often. But exercise is important. Resistance and high intensity interval training and a little bit of endurance certainly is good. All endurance, not that good. Probably the least that you would want to do. Then high intensity alone would be better, a little bit better, but not optimal. You need to combine all of this stuff in order to be optimal. And then if you did endurance training, like you're training for a marathon, totally, of course, again, that's not optimal for your health, but it's better than nothing.
Better than nothing. That's the whole point.
So we do know that much. But they have to say that for legal reasons. And then it has been speculated that 300 minutes of moderate intensity activity per week or 150 minutes of vigorous activity per week, they're saying double what those other three organizations said for both. Continuous session or in separate sessions of 20 to 30 minutes each may exert an additional protection against cancer, either directly or indirectly by preventing or even decreasing body weight gain and obesity. So
definitely will decrease the body weight gain and obesity. How could you not? You're moving around many minutes every day almost.
That's right. And we went from quite pudgy with JC to borderline obese with me. I was knocking on the door of obesity. I was certainly way overweight. And then with this program, I've lost 35 kilograms, which is close to 60 pounds. JC has lost quite a bit of weight, and we have kept it off for well over 8 years. So
exactly, never yo-yoed.
It's a success. It's a success, and we're happy and proud that we are, and we hope that people aren't unhappy or jealous about that. But we just want to have more and more happy and healthy people like us. Right. We're happy to welcome anybody into this program that wants to join us. So now let's go to the conclusion. And currently, several molecular mechanisms by which exercise can decrease cancer risk and or progression have been found. The most important and well-defined of them include the metabolic profile of hormones, systematic inflammation reduction, insulin sensitivity increase, antioxidant capacity augmentation, the boost of the immune system, and the direct effect on the tumor. Now, we read that in the abstract, which is why you read the abstract. You read the conclusion. They're going to say the same thing, but that's how, and then if you don't know what those mean, look them up, which we talked about that a little bit. The currently available data provides substantial evidence that the effect of exercise may predict a stronger association with cancer and could supplementarily be introduced in the cancer clinical practice to improve disease progression and prognosis. So this is really just for doctors. And so basically, what I like about this study is that it wasn't funded by pharmaceutical companies, so they're not pushing pharmaceutical drugs. If a study is pushing pharmaceutical drugs for the treatment of any disease, it was probably financed by a pharmaceutical company, or some of the scientists were funded by the pharmaceutical company. Now, they have to disclose that, but some still don't. So then you might have to do a little bit of more research about it. And when I find those scientists who either admit it, which they're still despicable, or that don't admit it, which is even more despicable, and I find them, I'm gonna out them, because this is just not the way. It's harming us. It's helping the pharmaceutical companies, and these are people who are guilty of scientific fraud. Unfortunately, they are not prosecuted for that, which they should be. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now. Anyway, so this is really just talking about future research, which they always have to talk about. Don't take this as medical advice until more research is done, but you can certainly gain something from it, and hopefully what you gain from it is that you should be exercising.
Right.
And so look at the author contributions, look at the conflicts of interest, which this says there are no conflicts of interest, which I never believe until I go up to the top of or maybe they have it at the bottom, but you have to find the author information. And if you look at these authors, these scientists are associated with universities and institutions that do not support, that I know of, do not support pharmaceutical and food companies. And you can verify that by what they say. If they said, oh, you need to take this supplement, and you need to eat this food, and you need to take this therapy or drugs, then you know that it was
promoting.
It's like an advertisement. However, there are always some good scientists, because these scientists who are compromised, they want to bring good scientists in to help bolster the validity of their study. And so you can find that gold that these good scientists throw in there. They'll say, oh yeah, take chemotherapy drugs, but exercise also. And that's why you know that that's the nugget, the exercise, and that's how you know these scientists are good. So I like this. This is a SuperFast, SuperFit approved study, and I agree with the things that they're trying to say. Now, one of the exercises and exercise equipment that we found recently, this was
very exciting one.
Yeah, this was actually Barbara O'Neill who turned me on to this. I like her a lot. I like her also. I don't agree with everything she says, but I rarely do agree with everything everybody says. But she talked about rebounding, so I looked into this. It's very healthy. So I tasked JC with finding a good rebounder, which I did the research on which ones are the best. We didn't pick top of the line, but we picked about middle, so it was a little bit lower on top of the line, but it's certainly high of the middle.
Right.
And so we thought this is a good rebounder for us to start with.
The funny thing is, when you think of the rebounder, the first thing you relate is kind of a toy that the kids will jump on. But even from the kids, the pictures of the kids jumping on the rebounder, you can see they're very happy, So that shows something already, right? But rebounder actually is a very good exercise tool.
It is, and let me just say something about that. Because every friend that I've told, or everybody that I recommend, what is it? It's a mini trampoline. There are many names for it, but when they realize what it is, they kind of smile, and it feels like they're patting me on the head, saying, "Oh, isn't that cute? You exercise on a mini trampoline." And I feel bad for them because I'm trying to tell them, it helped them with this. One of my students, I said, your eyesight, you shouldn't wear your glasses unless you absolutely need them, because that'll help strengthen your eyesight. And he said, but other teachers are telling me I have to wear them all the time. And I'm like, okay, well, actually, look at this. So Barbara O'Neill did a lecture on how rebounding helps your eyesight and that you shouldn't wear your glasses all the time. And then I told him about rebounding. Well, his parents aren't buying him a mini trampoline because he's not a kid anymore, and his parents are kind of telling him to wear his glasses more. And so, until he gets out of his parents' home, he has to do what they say. But anyway, I've recommended this to everybody for strengthening the eyes, everything.
So actually we found there are like 49 benefits from rebounding, but those are just basic ones. Boost your heart health, good for your heart, strong heart, strengthen your muscles, improve your balance. Of course you need the balance because you have to jump up and down on soft area, right? Unlike exercising on the hard surface like the floor, is actually protecting your bones and joints.
That's right.
Interesting.
And it actually strengthens every cell. Right down to the cellular level, it strengthens every cell. It strengthens communication between cells and your intercellular environment. It helps everything. It helps lymphatic system, which doesn't have a pump like your heart. It relies on gravity. And so what the rebounding does is your lymphatic system, the liquid goes up. And then, of course, you have valves, right? So when you come down, instead of your liquid going down, the gravity, you rebound, the valves keep that liquid up, and then you go up again, it goes up further, and it helps with the circulation of your lymphatic system, which helps to keep you healthy. It helps with your immune system. And so 30 times the lymphatic system improvement than just regular exercise.
How can you make that kind of
you can and the lymphatic system relies on muscles like your calf muscle, which your blood your circulatory system does also, but your muscles help to pump the things up, but it doesn't have a separate pump. So rebounding is the best for the lymphatic system. If you do it for no other reason than that, it helps with all your body system and specifically the lymphatic system. So we've been doing that, and as I'm trying to convince other people to do it, I'm not going to buy everybody a rebounder, but we went ahead and bought your mother a rebounder.
Exactly.
Your mother's...
I was about to tell about
Go ahead, tell us.
So it's interesting because at first my mom is 74, young now. I said 74 young because now she definitely looks younger after the rebounding exercise. One good thing about her is she's also curious and open to new things. So when we got this for her, of course we told her all the safety things about how to use it. You have to
jump with bended knees. And with bended knees, check all the legs, make sure everything's tight,
stable. And then at first she started to rebound for, I think the first time, maybe even less than 10 seconds.
Yeah, and she was out of breath.
And she couldn't believe this is that hard. But it is, right? That's why what you said, 1 minute or 10 minutes of rebounding it equals 30 minutes of jogging. So then that's the first time, but she didn't give up because the good thing about rebounding is it's fun. It
is fun, and you can listen to music, you can watch videos as you're doing it, and it's a lot of fun. And then, of course, it's so satisfying to know that when I rebound for 10 minutes, I just went for a 30-minute jog.
Yeah.
And when I rebound for 15 minutes, that's 45 minutes of jogging, and I've gotten up to 30 minutes of rebounding, which is phenomenal for all of my the body systems and my health. And I've jogged for an hour and a half on that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we incorporate high intensity training with the rebounding.
Yeah.
So it's almost the perfect exercise. And I just have one more thing to say about being the perfect exercise is that NASA studied this. NASA was trying to figure out how they could help their astronauts recover from the weightlessness of no gravity. And then, of course, all your systems start to degenerate because you don't have that gravity keeping you strong. That's why resistance training makes you strong. That's why endurance making exercise makes you strong. That's why rebounding helps to make you strong. So they came up with this mini trampoline because, of course, astronauts coming back from space are isolated for a few days, and they realized that rebounding was the best exercise to help them recover from the weightlessness of space.
Interesting. And then my mom, get back to my mom.
Okay, back to your mom.
So
who happens not to be an astronaut. But she is very active.
Now she can have a similar experience like those astronauts.
So less than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Then, then she started to, of course, slowly, she started to add more time on it because she found, she can breathe better now, not out of breath for 10 seconds. Then she started to do 30 seconds.
Which we did recommend going slow. Start with very little, build up with very small increments, and she listens to our advice.
And then she improves very fast because now, I think yesterday, she started to ask us if she can increase to 6 minutes for one round, and she does 3 rounds a day.
She does 3 rounds a day, and she figured that out without us telling her, but she found out that 3 sets of rebounding fit her schedule better, but they recommend that works better than one long bout. Now, my lifestyle is such that I just do a 30-minute one time per day because I'm not going to do 10 minutes in the morning. I'm not going to come home from work and do 10 minutes, and I'm not going to do 10 minutes before I go to bed. So, 1 30-minute, it's still very good for you.
And then what I noticed, number one, and very obvious, even her friends noticed, she lost weight. And easily, and she looks much better.
This was within within 1 month.
1 month.
She's already lost weight, and she's having fun with it. She's increasing. And it helps with. She's very active. She does dancing twice a day. She walks, and this is all helping her with the activities. Help her with the rebounding, and the rebounder helps her with the activities. She plays ping pong every day, and so the woman is incredibly healthy, and she's going to live long even without our help because she was doing that without our help, but. Hopefully, we're going to help her to live longer. So,
so that's about it. My story, my mom's story.
And that's rebounding, and that. So, of course, now the rebounding is one of the reasons with resistance training that when we hiked the mountain, we weren't overly exhausted when we were hiking, and then we weren't really sore the next day or two. And so. We know that we're doing good. So we're hoping that everybody will join us. One other thing that I did do a little bit of, we live on the 31st floor. So when the pollution's not bad, because they're going to keep the windows open in the staircase always. But I climbed the stairs, and I got up to a couple of times, and then we got the rebounder, so I'm doing that instead of climbing the stairs. But that's another thing you can do. I mean, there are many ways of exercising without having to go to the gym or even buy expensive exercise equipment. Now, the rebounder that we got is a little bit expensive, and we'll probably pay double that for the top of the line. But now that we know we like it, we'll get that better.
Plus, if the weather is really bad outside, whether raining, snowing, and you don't want to go out, whatever, you can do it indoor. So,
So anyway, I think that brings us to the end of the podcast. And the fireworks are going on out there. So, with these 2 podcasts, we hope that you will join us with hiking. Like or follow this, subscribe to our channel. and leave a comment below. Tell us about your hiking or exercising experience.
We really want to know more of your experience also.
We definitely do, and we'll answer the ones that we can. If you come up with a really good question or comment, we'll include it in the podcast. Yeah, I have one that I'm going to include in the next podcast, but we appreciate all of your efforts and your contributions to the SuperFast community. And that's it for this week.
Yeah.
Happy fasting and see you next week.
Enjoy your healthy lifestyle. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the SuperFast Podcast with M. David Peterson. We hope you enjoyed the discussion today. Be sure to hit the like button and the subscribe or follow button below. And feel free to leave a comment to let us know how we are doing, how you are feeling, or about your experiences with fasting. Learn more about superfasting and health by clicking the links in the description below, especially the link to Kobo.com to purchase the ebook SuperFast, Fasting for Super Health by yours truly, M. David Peterson. Remember, it is never too late to get healthy. Please understand that any advice or recommendations that we make in this podcast are not to be construed as medical counsel. We speak from personal experience and research. The recommendations that we make here are based on our involvement in and understanding of this lifestyle. The suggestions herein are the same that we might make to a friend, with the assumption that that friend would not just take our word for it. As a listener, you should do your own research to determine if this lifestyle is in your best interest. We hope that you find this podcast entertaining as well as informative. However, any lifestyle or diet or fasting change should be done with the supervision of a qualified medical professional, preferably one knowledgeable in therapeutic fasting. And please, do not stop taking or reduce any medication without consulting your physician. Join us next week for another SuperFast podcast. Until then, keep superfasting and stay healthy, my friend.